Full breastfeeding. San Juan Regional Medical Center, officially baby-friendly and serving the Four Corners since 1910. Find out more online at sanjuanregional.com. Ten minutes past 8 o'clock. It's Tuesday morning, August the 20th. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Micklin, and thank you for tuning in to KSJE 90.9 FM here in San Juan County, and now 103.3 FM in the Durango area. Also, welcome to our viewers who are watching us live this morning on the KSJE Facebook page and YouTube channel. As I mentioned, it is about 65 degrees outside our studios here at San Juan College, and here's a look at the campus from a few moments ago as things get started. It is Convocation Day here at San Juan College, and this fall semester will get started next Monday with classes for students and faculty and staff, but today is Convocation, so if you're coming to the campus for any kind of business to take care of, all those offices are going to be closed until after noon today because of our Convocation this morning here at San Juan College. The forecast does call for a sunny day today with a high of 96 degrees, clear and 63 tonight, 94 tomorrow, maybe a chance of a shower or thunderstorm popping up, probably more in the mountains than down here. 93 Thursday and Friday for a high, and 95 on Saturday with overnight lows in the mid to upper 50s. Coming up in just a moment, my guests this morning who are standing by from the Aztec School District, so stay tuned for that. We'll be talking about education and what's going on with the start of school in the Aztec School District. Later on this hour, we'll be checking in with Amber Francisco from the Farmington Regional Animal Shelter, and we'll be showing you, of course, some of the pets available for adoption this week if you're watching our visual radio program, so stay tuned for that. And then next hour, Mick Hess will be here roving with the arts, and Mick is playing music from this album, Sound the Bells by the Bay Brass. That's coming up today at 9:06 right here on KSJE. If you're looking for something to do this week or in the next few weeks, we invite you to check out our regional events calendar at ksje.com. Lots of things that are going on. We've compiled them for you on our calendar, so you can check those out. Again, First Year Friday happening this Friday at San Juan College. There is a movie, Hotel Mumbai, that is from the Farmington Cinematheque program, coming up on September 14th. Comedy improv class here at San Juan College, part of the Community Learning Center programs. A performance at the Tota Theater happening later on this week, and also a lecture at the Aztec Ruins on the Women of Chaco. Just some of the many things happening on our regional events calendar. Find out more details at ksje.com. Well, let me turn to my guests who are here with me this morning, back for their regular visits during the school year, and we appreciate your time so much. Superintendent Kirk Carpenter from Aztec Schools, good morning.
Good morning, Scott.
Welcome back.
Well, thank you. It's, again, a pleasure to be here. We missed you even over the summer.
I missed you. I don't know why you don't come in the summertime, but you don't.
It's Miss Prokop's fault.
I see. All right.
No,
Tania Prokop is here, too, and that's okay because you guys are pretty active over the summer, and sometimes you're out of town and just doing summer things. So
It's funny because this summer, I think Miss Prokop probably say this too. People always say, what do you guys do in the summer? But I think for us, it's really one of the busiest times of the year.
I imagine it is, and I know both of you, and you are both pretty busy. But Tania Prokop is here as well, Deputy Superintendent. Good morning. It's good to have you here, too.
Thank you, Scott. Good morning.
We won't blame you at all for
No,
not
I tried to throw her under the bus, but I can't.
If somebody's got to take it, I'll take it.
I understand. Team player all the way,
Absolutely.
See? But it's great to have both of you back, and the school year is up and running at Aztec Schools, and so how are things going? Everything going well?
Well, we always we joke at this time of the year that we turn on the lights and roll the buses out and the kids come, and it's not always that smooth, but it seems that with great people, things happen for many reasons, including Miss Prokop, who's done a wonderful job, and she'll be able to speak about something she's really helped us with staffing, which we're very excited about. And I'm not going to steal the thunder because we talk about the hard work that happens, but there's some encouraging things happening this year, because one of the big things we've talked about many years is staffing issues, and again, she'll get to talk about that. But we are off and running. And it's always an exciting time of the year is to get things started. We always joke about how short summers become and how fast things get here. But you know what? We love what we do, and this is what we're called to do. So it's an exciting time because kids are back in class. teachers are back in class, and we're always excited to make a difference. And each year, when we talk to our teachers and our new staff, we tell them how they need to appreciate what they do. It's not easy. This is a very noble profession, but in no other profession do you have the opportunity every single day, every second of every day, to try to impact somebody's life. And so it's a privilege. It's not easy. But it's an opportunity to make a difference. And so we need to be thankful for the profession we're in. And that's the way we treat it, and that's the message we send out. And so each day we go to work, we need to remember that. And the old coach in me, or the former coach, I should say, and both I know Miss Prokop and I, is we treat every day as a coaching opportunity, that every day is game day. And we need to treat it as such, and every second is that. So again, that's the way we approach our jobs, and our teachers as well. That's the message they get, and we love what we do, and so every day is an opportunity, and we're just thankful we get to go to work every day and do what we do.
There you go. And I know teaching, I would say, from your description, like maybe broadcasting is a calling, because you know you're not going to get rich doing it, but you have a passion for educating those students and being in the classroom, as you say, and it really is a calling for a lot of folks who stay with it for so many years, and we see that too, these dedicated teachers who are in the classrooms every year.
It is, and one of the messages too is when we talk about teachers, it's educators, and everybody, when we talk to our staff, everybody's an educator. Everybody owns, as we talk about in our district, improving student learning for all students. Everybody in the district. It's the old NASA approach. I know Ms. Prokop told the story many years ago about individual, whether it was a representative or it may have even been the president, walking into NASA before we sent a person to the moon, which I think this year is the 50th anniversary.
Right.
And the custodian sweeping the floor, the individual came across him and said, "What do you do?" And his message was, "Well, I'm responsible for helping send a man to the moon." It was that kind of systemic thought and the culture across the NASA, industry. If everybody owned that mission, and the same thing we want in Aztec. It's systemic, that everybody's role. It doesn't matter if you're driving a bus, because you're the first person our kids see, to the superintendent's office or the school board's office. It's not just teachers that own the idea of improving student learning. Everybody must. And so that's something we try to instill, that everybody's an educator in Aztec. It's not just our teachers. They have the biggest impact. Absolutely they do. And then the principals. But everybody must own that. And I think that's, again, what we try to instill each year, that your primary role is to improve student learning for all students. Now, you may be a custodian. You're not just a custodian. Your job is very, very important, and your job in maintenance is very, very important. But your primary role is to improve student learning, and that's something we take with great pride. It's not something we'd want to just say. We must live it, because your little thing of just saying hi to a student as they walk down the hallway may be the biggest difference for that student, because sometimes, unfortunately, in our world, in our society, you're all they have when they come to school. So, again, it's a great calling, and it is a way to make a difference. And again, the passion we have and the love we have for it is something we hope we push forward to our staff and students.
We hear it in your voice. We can see it in your face. Yeah. Mr. Carpenter, Tania Prokop, let me turn to you, because Mr. Carpenter has set you up for this impressive stat, which we were talking about before we came on the air this morning, because we talked, I know, in years past about the teacher shortages in New Mexico and actually around the country because of issues like salary and just not enough teachers maybe getting into the profession, going into educational programs and things along that line. But you were both telling me before we came on the air this morning that Aztec Schools are fully staffed for the first time in a number of years, and that's because of a new program that you have been successful at. And so, Tania Prokop, would you let us know what that's all about?
You bet. First of all, I struggled that it's something that I did. It's always very much a team effort. So what the team has put together is working with a local agency here in Farmington to bring to our district teachers from another country working on a visa. These teachers are filling vacancies that we've had. It's the same vacancies that we've had anywhere from 4 to 5 years, and they're in special education. That they're posted. For a while we went to colleges, but recruits weren't coming out of colleges. We'd attended different fairs, and still the same vacancies were always open year after year. And so what we had was this pattern of 8 to 11 vacancies, and they were filled by long-term subs. And so principals and instructional coaches had to support those long-term subs so that students still had a quality education. So working with this local agency, we're actually bringing teachers from the Philippines to Aztec, New Mexico, to fill our vacancies. They are special education teachers. We still have.
They're trained in that particular
Absolutely.
field of study, right?
Yes.
And that work.
So they're vetted by this agency first, and then they filled out applications, we reviewed resumes, and then we set up Skype interviews. So our principals had Skype interviews with these individuals. And something to think about is these individuals.
I hear that video is the future.
Rumor has it
that the kids are all watching the video these
That's
days.
right.
So this is something that you were doing.
We
with
tapped
this
into that.
International interviewing technique. Yes.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing is, it was 8 o'clock in the morning for our administrators, but it was a different day and 3 o'clock in the morning for the teachers from the Philippines that were interviewing.
That's dedication.
If you're going to sell yourself at that time of the day, it was impressive to watch. And we had a lot of candidates that we interviewed, and the principals selected the best ones that they thought would meet the needs of their schools. And there's a different process, right? They have to have interviews with embassies, and they have to secure their New Mexico Public Education Department license. And so
they're going through a lot of the same steps that an American-born teacher would be expected to fulfill as well. So
they have to have a New Mexico teaching license, background checks, their degrees have to be vetted through agencies that will translate their degrees into American standards to make sure that they meet. And what we're finding is most of them exceed the qualifications. All of the teachers that are coming have experience working in schools. One of the teachers made it through all the hoops and actually got here last week. And she came to us via Thailand, where she had been teaching for 4 years at a government school. And she was teaching in an American government school, and was teaching a variety of courses. And she'll be teaching special education math at Aztec High School. She's already in her second week. Checked in up there with her yesterday, and just a breath of fresh air, even for that whole math department. Just jumped in right away, working with kids, and bringing other ideas in, and just another viewpoint. So I think we've got 2 more teachers. We were expecting them yesterday, but they were busy with the agency that we're working with. Really helps them secure their Social Security number, helps them secure a driver's license, finds them housing, gets them all settled in. And so that was still taking place yesterday. So I think 2 of those teachers should be showing up at Aztec Central Office today. And hopefully they'll be showing up at Kugler Middle School this afternoon to start working with students.
Very exciting.
It is really exciting. I'm excited even for like the cultural part that they'll bring in.
Right. Different culture, different perspective.
Food. I mean, come on.
Right.
Let's try the cuisine, and just a different way of, like Kirk said, improving learning for all students. Just another different aspect of how do we do that.
Right. And how long has it been since you've had these positions filled by full-time folks and not long-term subs, like you were saying?
It feels like eternity. It really does. I'm going to say it's been at least 5 years since we've been fully staffed. We still have 1 vacancy, but we've got a hiring process going on as we speak at that site, and we'll see if that candidate surfaces for being hired.
Okay.
So we're real close to being fully staffed, which
I don't remember you saying that to me for a long time either on this show.
If ever on the show, right?
On the show.
So it's really refreshing, and I'm just really excited just to bring this breath of fresh air to our schools.
Right. And Mr. Carpenter, again, this is unheard of in the last few years, so you're fully staffed, and I guess nothing against these long-term subs, but these folks are trained and ready to go, and they're full-time, and they can commit to this full school year and be there, right? Isn't that part of the positives?
Very much the positives. In some of our long-term subs, we had maybe a couple that were former teachers, but now we even have some things that are limiting that because of legislation passed, which I won't get into. We want to stay
yes.
positive.
Okay. Yes,
but,
sir.
And again, I appreciate Ms. Prokop's, signs of a true leader saying we, because it was a team effort. Absolutely. I know Ms. Williams in her office did a great job to help with all this, and Bloomfield has done this, and we modeled a lot of what they use with the same company. I know Farmington's done things with, I think, teachers from Germany, so this isn't uncommon. But what Ms. Prokop did, as she always does, is she reached out and she really investigated how to do this process, and just applaud her efforts and her office's efforts to do what's right for kids, because there were many interviews conducted, and there were some that weren't accepted. And what I think is a breath of fresh air is these teachers come, they're educated. You have to always worry about even the dialect they bring to make sure that even in the classroom with the instruction that they can communicate and get across the information. But being educated like they are, they're going to push some of our teachers. And that's important too. Like Ms. Prokop said, we've already seen it. We've seen them sit there and do some team teaching ideas, and all of that to me is going to be very, very important, because we want all of our students challenged, but we also think this is going to be a beneficial shot in the arm for all of our teachers as well. If I was the principal at the high school, we were talking about the food, I think I'd have an early potluck, because it's going to do some things there too. But the other thing that we didn't mention is, transportation could be a challenge. But Ms. Prokop, in her thinking, we've arranged with our transportation for some of these people to get on our school buses. They have housing arrangements throughout the district, so that can be a challenge. But challenges are opportunities. How do we make things happen? So they have housing near elementary schools. We have transportation in the early morning, so they're getting on the buses with our students. They're mingling. All those kinds of things. It's just it's a great opportunity, and they get on the buses with our kids. They can help monitor the kids, but then they can get off at the high school or the middle school, wherever they're teaching, and get off, and they can ride our transportation. In the afternoons, we have early release. We're working through those as well. You don't let those be obstacles. You turn them into opportunities to make it work, because this is what we need to do. So, again, just a great job by many people in the district, and I agree with Ms. Prokop, absolutely a team effort. But it took somebody looking out, can we do this? And I applaud Ms. Prokop for taking that step to say, what can we do for our kids? And then everybody else stepping in. So it's going to be a great thing for our district. And again, the idea all around, how do we improve learning for all of our students? But it steps out, and it's going to help our staff as well. So we're very happy with this, and we're going to move forward with it and see how it goes this year.
Very good. Well, congratulations again. Having to be able to take down that help wanted sign is probably a special thing to be able to do. My guest this morning from the Aztec School District, Superintendent Kirk Carpenter, is here, also Deputy Superintendent Tania Prokop. Thanks for your comments on our Facebook page, everybody. We appreciate you chiming in to let us know what you think about the interview this morning. If you have a specific question, you can do that as well, and I'll try to pass it along to my guests this morning. Mr. Carpenter, I want to ask you a bit about enrollment. I know that's a number and thing that all districts are watching, even here at San Juan College. They're keeping an eye on enrollment projections for the fall. What are you seeing so far in Aztec?
The last couple of years, Scott, has been very concerning with enrollment decreasing in Aztec, and as we start the year, we're seeing a similar trend, unfortunately. And it's hard. I think the obvious thing is looking at where we are economically with oil and gas. It's a big push in Aztec as well, and a lot of families probably moving north or south. South to the Permian Basin is where a lot of the drilling's taking place. Most districts around us, I think, are seeing probably similar decreases. I know Farmington's maintaining, but again, Farmington being the largest city with other industry, even other industry related to oil and gas, there's a lot of service industry. And with that being said, they do a lot of things centered around oil and gas. And we have some drilling going on, so that maintains some of the population. But we're down a little bit, even to start the year. We're funded, I think, at 2789, and we're currently at 2744 as far as student numbers. The interesting thing is we're down at the elementaries. And so that in itself tells us probably there's some families that may have relocated. We can't say what families, whether it's all oil and gas related, but one would speculate that that's probably what's happening already. because we just haven't picked up in our basin as far as drilling. We keep hearing that could take place, but we know as well that with the way the Permian Basin down south is going and what's happening up in the north of Denver and the Dakota areas, that's probably affecting ours. So we're down a little bit, and it always concerns you. But we'll just have to watch that as we go forward. It's not a big shift. It's about 40 students. We're down about 50 to 60 in the elementaries, and then the offsets up at the secondaries. But, our high school, we were talking right before we came on. I can remember when I started my internship as an administrator, which was many years ago, but the high school was close to 1,200. And that was in the 90s, so that was a while ago. And I didn't have much brown hair then either. I don't have any now. But now we're at 800, and we will probably be below 800 by the time we get our 40th day numbers, which that tells you what's happening to the population in Aztec. It's just shifted a lot.
Right.
But we will, just keep making adjustments. We've had to make adjustments many years now as far as staffing goes, and it's just been absolutely a population shift in our district.
And that has got to be a constant juggling act, I would think, as to how many teachers you can afford to have, how big class sizes you can not have, to be able to fit the budget, to fit the student populations that you have.
It is, and one would think that we would be able to, in some respects, have a better teacher-student ratio, but that's not the case because it all affects budget. And so with that, we've had to honestly have larger class sizes. That's not always the best case, but we will never jeopardize learning because of budget. The last place we'll cut is in the classroom, but unfortunately we've had to have larger class sizes. Budget has been a big issue. Even last year with the overall revenue being the greatest in the state, I will tell you it hit our budget probably harder than any other year. We saw our costs of personnel costs with benefits and salaries go from 86% of our budget to 92% of our budget. And so when people think that things are funded, when we get increases, and we get increases from the legislature for salary increases and all those types of things, they're not always funded. And that's case in point. When you see a 6% increase to your budget when they think that everything's funded, and it wasn't. And so that's a huge impact on a budget like ours, where we're a very small, medium-sized district. And you see districts around you that are giving bigger increases to administrators, bigger increases to teachers, and you're wondering why that can happen. And a lot of it has to do with them having a bigger student population, bigger federal budgets where they can offset costs. And for us, it's going to hit not only our budget, but our cash balance, because we just can't match it. And when you're pulling more from operational for the salaries, you still have other bills to pay to keep the lights on.
Right, and help us understand that a little bit, because when we do hear about that the state has passed raises for teachers, well-deserved raises for teachers, and people think that it's all been paid for through the state appropriation, and so it trickles down to districts like Aztec, and you have money to pay for some of that, but then there's a gap?
There's definitely a gap. The salaries may be paid for, but when you talk about the benefits, that's not always a full package, and so you have to pick up.
And are you giving Cadillac benefits to your teachers more than other districts? No. Or are you on the same?
We're on the same program. We're on the same program, and it's not the case. And again, when you talk about federal funding and some of those things where you can offset costs, other districts are able to give even more raises. They're able to go in and look at administrative salaries and even offset those more. So we're all funded with the same funding formula. And again, it's not a pity party. It's the way it works. We don't have the same demographics as other districts, so we receive the funding we should receive. However, to say that all the raises were fully funded, they are never fully funded.
And what about for like teacher assistants and part-timers and things like that? Is that also part of this calculation?
It's all part of the calculation, but again, what's never fully calculated are what the impacts are with like all the benefits and all those types of things.
I see.
And without those being fully calculated, you see an increase, like I just mentioned, where 86% of your budget is for salaries and benefits, and it goes from 86 to 92, and that increase is never fully calculated when they give you the increase or the more funding. It's just they can't calculate that into, and we're not the only district that saw that kind of impact. Obviously, there's several across the state. How that impacts them is different. Other districts can absorb that because of their size without it impacting operational and cash balance. For us, it's impacting our cash balance where we're having to pull cash balance to pay for that. But that can't be reoccurring to cash balance because that's our savings account. It's going to run out. And so we have to offset some of that by cutting staff. And so that's one thing we're having to do. But it affects every district differently, but it's never a fully funded increase when they say we're giving 6%. Well, that 6% may be a salary, but it doesn't include 6% on the benefits.
Sure.
A teacher that comes in may make $40,000. When you consider what that teacher costs the district, it's well above $40,000 because of the benefit package.
Of course, right, and that's true for any business, I
Everybody.
think. And salary and your personnel staffs are usually their biggest chunk of your budget. And so, with the outlook for the new legislative session, is there still hope that there's some more funding coming for public education? I know there's this lawsuit that we've talked about in the past, and the state is kind of mandated by a court order to fully fund education, whatever that means. But there certainly seems to be more money coming into the state than we've talked about in past years. This year, for example, are you optimistic for the future too?
Yeah, I'm definitely optimistic. I think for the future, I think would be the next, I would think, couple years that there's good revenue still coming in, and very optimistic, not just for salaries but also for programs. We saw a big push for summer programs, K-5 plus, some of those things. This year there were as many districts that could take advantage, but I think it's because it was a late rollout. So I think not just salaries, but for different types of programs that would specifically affect the amount of education students get. So very optimistic. I mean, there's still a lot of revenue still rolling in as we watch oil and gas prices. You know, they aren't as high as they have been, but there's still good revenue. I think there's still good revenue projections. So I maintain optimism, I should say, and very optimistic that we'll continue with a good revenue picture. But I'm not an economist. I'm an educator. But at this point, I would say we're still in good shape.
Sure. Let me ask you, final topic this morning. We're running a little bit short on time, but your impressions of the new public education secretary who was appointed, named just a few weeks ago, I believe. The governor appointed one secretary, and then she didn't work out, and so there's a new guy in charge.
You know, I have not met him, wasn't able to listen to the phone conversation, but did check in with another superintendent, and I think the initial feeling is that he's going to be very collaborative. He's going to work with his staff that's on hand, which is very important because as a superintendent's association, we did send a letter to the governor asking to have some input and some consideration on the selection, and although we weren't at the table for that, we also wanted to make sure that they kept the current staff on hand because there's been a lot of work by the current staff, which are all educators, and that's important for us as superintendents. We feel like we need that because we haven't had that. We've had policymakers making decisions for educators, and that has not been productive. He is an educator. Although not a Mexican, he is an educator, but what we want is somebody that will sit down with us and work with us. We're not always going to agree. You don't want that. That's not productive. Sometimes we need to have disagreement. I mean, if we have somebody that disagrees with everything, that's not ever good. You need to have productive dialogue to think about different and new ideas. And so the idea of sitting down and having collaboration is having people sitting at the table with a lot of different people so we can share ideas, and with his staff, our staff. And so we're excited because we think that's what we're going to have, and that appears to be what he is sharing, is he wants to work with his staff, he wants to work with educators, and when we say educators, it's not just superintendents, it's everybody. We need people at the grassroots, the people in the classrooms, the teachers, everybody that's involved in education. And from the first initial conversation, from what I've heard and the feedback, that's what it appears is going to happen, and that's what's good for kids, because as adults, too many times we're trying to make those decisions about kids, and we need to remember that's what we're in the business of, is educating students, and it's for students, not to do things to them, but for them.
Right. Very true. Well, we are out of time, both of you, but thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Great to have you both here for the start of another great year and your commitment to being here every month. I appreciate that. So, folks, staff and parents and grandparents and students in the Aztec School District, you could watch us every third Tuesday at 8 o'clock.
Thank you,
You'll
Scott.
be here. We'll see you in September. Thank you
Thanks,
both
Scott.
very much.
You bet.
Kirk Carpenter and Tania Prokop, my guests here from the Aztec School District on KSJE. And I'll be back with more in just a moment, everyone. The time is coming up on 8:40. KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, which is officially baby-friendly. This evidence-based initiative is designed to support mother-baby bonding and optimal infant feeding practices by upholding the 10 steps to successful breastfeeding. San Juan Regional Medical Center, officially baby-friendly, and serving the Four Corners since 1910. Find out more online at sanjuanregional.com.
What if the self-driving car revolution is an office park shuttle? From American Public Media, this is Marketplace Tech, demystifying the digital economy. I'm Molly Wood.
Marketplace Tech is supported by Home Advisor, helping homeowners find local pros for their home projects. Homeowners can get matched to pros, read reviews, and check cost guides at homeadvisor.com.
Everyone is very excited about autonomous cars, but with every day, they feel a little farther away. Waymo, Alphabet's self-driving car company, is still testing fully autonomous cars as taxis in the Phoenix area. Tesla is putting semi-autonomous features onto its own cars for consumers to buy. And some companies, like Boston-based Optimus Ride, are thinking the immediate future is a little more contained. The startup, which, yes, is named after the Transformer, is betting on low-speed vehicles that carry people around defined geographic areas. It is not the sexiest use of autonomous driving tech, but it might be more doable. Optimus Ride just started a contract giving people free rides around the Brooklyn Navy Yard, an industrial park in New York City. Marketplace Tech producer Stephanie Hughes went to check it out.
Optimus Ride vehicles stick out. The black, 6-passenger electric automobiles have the words self-driving in all capital letters on the back, kind of like when you see a student driver. And like student drivers, these vehicles still have teachers that ride along. 2 human monitors are in the front seat, ready to jump in if needed. They direct the passengers as well.
Before we start, we just want to make sure everyone has their seatbelts in.
Me too, in the back.
Please, safety first.